This is Justin Scoop on Thursday, October 30th, 2025, taking a look at SPX. So we got a little bit of a pullback today, and we still have a gap from the gap up, going back from the 24th to the 27th over this weekend. And so this right now would kind of be potentially an uh, uh, wow, the word just escaped me. Island reversal. Wow, there you go. If we were to gap down, or if we were to at least keep this gap intact. So we can move around up here still, but at some point, if we were to gap past today's low and open up sometime below uh, the low last, or the high last Friday, that would keep this gap intact, and that would be in an island reversal here. And then I was with a group talking about trading this morning, and someone mentioned if we gapped again, if we put in another candle like this here, and then gapped again, we still have another open gap here. This low was still above, I believe, still above the highs over here. So technically, there's still a gap here, not just between these two candles, but actually still above the high over here. So if we were to gap down and get below the highs over here, we could potentially have like a double island reversal. We're trying to come up with what's the name? What could we call that? And I mentioned maybe the Ricat or Rishat structure, the Eye of the Sahara, which is an island inside of an island in Africa. So it's kind of an island inside of an island. If we were to do that, we'll see if it looks like that. So that's what's going on in the daily. Intraday, I went ahead and drew in some lines in here just to kind of put some framework to it, because it's just looking at these options, this kind of pops for me. So this is the 68.75 call and the 68.50 put. So the green line here is some of the resistance. So we were running into some bullish resistance. We were putting up upper wicks in here, but we were making lower highs as the day went on. Kind of here, here were all kind of relative highs. But all day on this put, we just kept going lower. Didn't quite get as close there. Lower, lower still, lower still. I'm not right on the green line, but I'm just showing, hey, there's some solid resistance. Like not quite touches, but definitely resistance. Definitely we're getting kind of lower. We're compressing. It's like what shape are we actually compressing? So then on the red support, we were having some bullish, or I'm sorry, bearish resistance. Excuse me. So the bears were trying to push lower. So we had it here, and then we had these candles, and that kind of lines up here, but then here and here. So I'm like, you know what? I kind of got to draw two lines, because the red line is like way up here, and that's easy to draw straight as, put resistance, right? Um, and so the red line kind of crosses with this magenta line, where we're actually, having some issues. So they crossed at this point, basically. Let me go and draw these on the other option. So I can draw kind of the same sort of supports for the calls, where we were kind of finding some levels where the puts were hitting resistance, the calls were hitting some support, but we kept tracking tighter for the calls. We really compressed, and this is more of a wedge shape on the calls. Uh, we didn't really have a great uh, we didn't have a great wedge anywhere else, but that's kind of what's going on. Just showing the different structures you're seeing form on the different, well, at least on the different four corners here. On SPX 3 minute, lower highs, higher lows, kind of relative lows for the magenta line. Um, we were definitely making lower lows on the calls with the magenta line, lower highs, or relative highs at least. No, I think lower highs. It's just where exactly is this one in relation to this one? I think it's still lower highs for the magenta on the puts. And then the green lines here, where we were running into bearish somewhat support, like we were mostly making lower lows through here, uh, on the green line for the puts, but the red and the green on the put, so the red line and the green line, they look almost parallel. Obviously, they're not parallel over here. They're more wedge shaped over here. And then they're definitely looking more like a symmetric triangle. But the issue is that we really only had kind of two touches on the red um, on SPX. The magenta does better to hold some relative lows. And that's why I kind of put both of them in here. And this is actually kind of widening. So over kind of over here to here, like this range is wider than kind of like the opening or the left range. So it's just things were looking different on SPX 3 minute, the call, and the put. And it's like, okay, what do we actually look for? What is going to happen? How do we anticipate with confidence that it's going to pick a direction? Because if you put these on here, it's like, okay, something's going to give, right? Like, can we go sideways all day? Absolutely can. But if we cross some level, um, something more significant is going to happen. In this case, we also, I don't know if you noticed, the green line is very closely following the 100. I can't even, like, it's really right on top of the 100. We were just chopping around through here, and then we got away from here. So obviously, we broke down today. When we broke down, high wave candle right here. Let me clear all this out because okay, and yeah, we'll just do this. So right here, high wave candle right on the red, kind of right at the magenta and the red. And this is very similar to what we did yesterday. We had kind of after the X marks the spot, we had some things widening, but we put a really high wave candle, kind of a doji sort of indecision candle right there. And then we moved. And so yesterday was Fed announcement stuff, and we moved really nicely. Today, I don't know if something got announced, but same sort of setup where we've got kind of this widening here. And again, X marks the spot is we've got a low here and a low here. I don't like having only 2 points for the red. Um, it's just it's only connecting 2 points. 2 points make a line. I would like to have a third touch, but it just doesn't work here. So if you don't agree with that method of reviewing this, let me change this up a little bit and show that if you take out the red, let's say the red, yeah, the red is faulty. It's only got 2 touches. Let's take that out. It actually cleans this up quite a bit because you can more clearly see that the magenta lows that we're making in here, relative lows, looked like that's the last chance. Like we could bounce, we could do it, we can go back up, but no, the next candle start to go down, got some lower wicks, but we're below. What do? We retest. We get a little bit above. We retest once, retest twice, kind of retest this little third time, and then we're down, right? So you could have taken this run lower. It definitely retest into the 21 here and then continued lower again. And so there were definitely opportunities to look for that. So looking now at the put, here's kind of a breakout and a retest, a breakout, retest, and actually kind of some choppiness in here before it just continued that way. And then it gave you another opportunity to not just pull back here and kind of get in off of this high. So that's a really nice S curve shape. But this actually pretty closely corresponds to like this last touch, not the last touch, but this same level here where we ran into some resistance. Hey, look, that's a similar level that we rolled down from. Now we're running into resistance, break through, come back down. Now that's acting as support. So old resistance, new support kind of setup. Um, at this point, this call is not doing much to kind of give us some guidance on the trade. You'd have to look at a call that's closer. Maybe the 6850 would give us some more information of how it's moving. Maybe 6840 would be better because that's kind of right in the mix of this. 6850 maybe a little further, maybe a little too far away because that's way up here. So just always be aware of how to leverage the other options. And that's kind of the main point of what I'm trying to do here in this channel is just explain like, hey, there's things going on that if you have these up and are trading with these, there's kind of some signals, there's things to interpret from one to the next or from opposite directions, calls versus puts. But sometimes they are they're moving somewhat in conjunction. They're somewhat related. They're going to move differently, obviously. Calls and puts moving in opposite directions, but the levels are going to be telling. The consolidation we got on the call, it's like, hey, this is headed towards something. We absolutely could have compressed like this with a wedge, and a wedge could totally break out. And if that happened, we should have seen something where we're going to move like that. But on the put, what's that going to look like? It's going to run up into this and then go down and then retest off of a bottom down here, retest into that and roll back down. It's going to look different if we go that direction. And so understanding these levels, understanding where it's holding. So it's like, hey, look, we were hitting this as resistance a number of times today. Now we're holding that as support. Let's go in the put direction. Let's buy puts and go directionally. And it worked really well today if you found these levels. And it gave you plenty of time. That's the thing here too. Even though I got a lot of stuff in here, give you a lot of time through here, and it broke down again, came back up into that same level, gave you a few more minutes here before it ultimately broke down. And so as long as you were able to be watching the market sometime after 1 o'clock or had alerts and come and check it, it's like, hey, it's sitting here. We've definitely taken out the lows. We're below the magenta line. What are we waiting for? Just get in bearish and wait for that move. Um, You can do that with options that expire 0 DTE today, options that expire tomorrow, next week. Like there's all kinds of ways to play that. I'm just showing you how this set it up, looking at today's expirations, and there were definitely opportunities here. Now, if this is too expensive for this put, go further out. Go to 68.25. We actually got in the money by the end of the day. It's not going to move as well as this one, but there's strikes every $5. Or go look at SPY instead and go, $1 or two away and get a contract or two, or just short SPY. Like there's so many different ways to do this. This is the framework of the day. It was not doing anything all day until it did do something, but when it actually did something, it gave roughly roughly half an hour to really be in. And even if that is like, oh, it's going out without me. Okay, no, it's not. It's right back in here. You didn't miss your chance. This was some great consolidation. All of these little candles here, some great consolidation. Let me zoom in on that. Look at all these lower wicks, consolidation, upper wick trying to recover right into the 21. It's so when it ran up like this, the 21 may have been a little bit higher because once this candle came down here and closed, then it pulled the 21 down with that price. So it may not have actually tagged it as the candle's forming. At some point, the candle was way up here. It's like, oh, that's a false breakdown. And it could have been, but that's where it's really important to understand how things are moving. So you could say, okay, well, here's the low, and then here we hesitated, and then here's the trap. Yep, okay, it's going bullish, but it's got to have the follow through. An upper wick here, an inverted hammer here. I mean, there's your setup right there, and you're in and it retests, and then you're like, okay, well, is it really going to go? My stop's still up here, I gotta wait. And then it starts to move down, and then you got another hammer here, inverted hammer here, and then it starts to go. It's like, okay, move your stop to break even or close to break even. Move your stop to here for break even when it's putting a bull candle, some upper wicks. Okay, it's breaking out lower, it's taking out the lows, right? Keep moving your stop a little tighter, a little closer. Keep it above the bull candle here. Even if you moved your stop here, it moves down, pushes down here. It passed the low going back to the open in the first 15 minutes of the day. So it took that out over, where is that? Took that out over in here with a nice big candle. But then it's like, okay, that's kind of a trapping candle. We're going to retest some, obviously. And then we ran right into the 21 again. So we hit the 21 multiple times. And then you get your stop right up here after this candle comes in and it pushes lower. It's like now you got minutes left in the day. How much further down do you want it to go? Get your stop pretty tight. Maybe get stopped out on that one if it's really tight, or just exit. We took out. I got too many things on here now. So this candle took out the low from earlier, or actually no, that was taken out by that. We didn't bounce. Then this candle. I got too many things. Okay. That candle took out the low over here. And then we put an inside candle. Then that candle took that out, retested some more, three bull candles, an upper wick right into the 21, which we tagged here and here. And oh, look, we rejected a third time and it's still going lower. Then that candle took out that candle. And then another bull candle came in, didn't quite get up to the 21. And then it looks like that lower wick took out that candle. And then that candle is the closing candle. So, like, how you got to get out if it's zero TT. Obviously, you got to get out. Um, but go back and look at each of these options and see how it moved in relation to whatever consolidation was going on, whatever your risk is. Where did it stay within the range of that risk to not stop you out, giving you room to let the trade move. There's ebbs and flows. Um, I would love to get in on something like that upper wick. That'd be great if you get embarrassed when it throws this upper wick in here. Because you already know, like, you're anticipating, hey, this is going to be a great move once this breaks out. I mean, it consolidated for was that from about 9 o'clock till a little past one. So for 4 hours, it just went sideways. Very different day than yesterday. Well, you know what? I take that back. Um, Yesterday consolidated even tighter than today for a whole lot more time. Let's duplicate this, move this over. That's like the same angle. That's crazy. And then I'm just trying to get out of the lows. Yeah, yeah, that looks kind of similar. It's funny when these things line up, but it's also not because, you know, hey, there's ways to trade this. Wow, that looks so. If I include, okay, if I just do this, maybe I'll make this the thumbnail. Look at what we've got today. Okay, break down, go up, chop around. Okay, and then ultimately lower. I'm gonna see if I can grab that. Come on, where's the tool? No, that's not the right tool. There's the tool. Okay. I just want to see how this fits. Yeah, yeah, I could totally see that. So we got a little lower today. And then didn't break down nearly as far. Oh, I gotta, this isn't the whole thing. We didn't do that inside still. So we actually broke down. Hmm. I gotta move this around now. Okay, let me go back to the annotating. It's kind of fun. Okay, so that did that. And then obviously I had that there. We didn't quite get as far down, but we were close. Actually, way closer than I realized we were to this. This was yesterday's breakdown. I didn't even draw it to the bottom. We were basically here. We went a little further down. So technically, it was like that. So yeah, we didn't go that much further. That's still 10, around 10 points lower. So if we got down to 68.10, I think that'd be somewhat close. But I can also shrink this. No, no, that's not shrinking. That's shrinking. That's compressing some more. Okay. So even the ebbs and the flows. So if I get that lined up, there's some patterns here. There's absolutely some patterns. It's fractal patterns, it's whatever. But you can within within a few candles, you can line up, hey, this low, that push lower. And the way I drew this, it's not fair because the way this happened over here, it was the previous day at close, and I tried to stretch it over. So actually, this doesn't do it justice. Um, I don't really want to redo it right now. I'm just trying to line things up. But you can see, like, hey, kind of came to a low, came into a high. This would have been a little, this high here would have been a little bit earlier. So I think it still lines up. This gets a little bit off. That, I don't know. It's, and then if I move, why is that not moving? Go back to annotate. If I move this over, so we got one more push higher, and then we broke through. We went sideways a lot more. We obviously did not move as aggressively or as quickly down. Um, it went sideways, which I can probably make this and stretch this. There you go. Not quite what I was trying for, but there, yeah, there's similar moves. Absolutely similar moves is all I'm trying to show. All right. I think I'll go back and grab one of those as a thumbnail because it's kind of cool just to see. Hey, look at these compressions. This is very similar. Um, I already deleted the red lines, so that's not going to work. But yeah, kind of cool. Seeing some very similar angles, different ranges, obviously, but some different angles to see how things carried forward. I may leave this on here, and we'll see if we have anything that fits these angles uh, tomorrow. Because a lot of times these things kind of they happen again. I don't think we had anything as clean. If we can, let me zoom out a little bit. Is there anything else recently that fits? You know what? I'll just try the green one over here and just see what it lines up with. If I go off that high, okay, that high to that close, and you know, it's close. I mean, it's close enough to be a level to trade off of. So if you're way down here, oh, this just caught my eye. If I grab that angle and put it here, oh, no, it's a little bit off. Okay, I was hoping that would line up. It didn't. Um, I don't see another down angle. I don't think that one really fits. It would have given you a target. It wouldn't have been much more because it didn't have. It only had two touches. You know. Let's see if there's any other. That sometimes that's like just the angle of how things are moving. This one's a steeper angle. That's a steeper. So I think that's the recent angle. That one's steeper too. Yeah. So that's just going to be the recent angle that we're at on the top side. That's definitely some resistance. So if something else runs into a high and you grab this angle from today and put it on there, it could work. I'm not saying it will work. You're making your own decisions. But if it starts to work, see if you've got a relative support, mostly staying at the same level. This is, I'm going to count this as one, two, three, four, maybe four touches in here. I'm going to say this lower wick, and then separately these. That could be five technically. There's definitely some buying going off of that until there wasn't. So this fits pretty significantly. Actually, if I were to move this one back further, oops, let me just extend to the left. There we go. That's easier. That was old resistance, new support, broke through it with some upper wicks looking like we were trying to bounce there. And then, you know, we closed below it, opened above and stayed above the rest of the day. So even some of these levels kind of play into the level that we bounced off of yesterday there. So remove, cancel left there. Now, like, which one was it? Okay. Pretty cool. All right. I hope this helps. This is really helpful and insightful for me, just looking back at how things move today. If you don't know how to read the chart and don't know how to put these on and then trade off of that, like the best thing is to just track it. Look at the angles, look at the levels, track it, and then figure out in hindsight, hey, how could I have traded that better? What could I have done there? And if you start to see these things shown up more, it's just following these patterns. It's looking for those the next time it's going to happen. So I didn't notice these angles may have been a little bit off if I had taken this and pasted it onto today, but it still would have pretty closely worked. Would have given you some great levels to go trade off of, you know, taking some of these ebbs and flows inside of here. You just buy at the low, stop a little bit below that, anticipating it's going to bounce. You know, this one took a little longer than this one or this one. These pretty much reversed within, you know, 3 to 9 minutes, reversed 3 to 9 minutes. This one what is that, 30 minutes where it's just chopping, you know? This took longer to break down than this. So it's just a matter of having enough time on the options at the right strike so that you're gonna just play the move and then get out. You're just gonna, you know, let it zigzag, and that's the ebbs and flows of the market. So hope this helps. This is Justin. Thanks.